Impactful, relevant, historic are just a few of the words that some of the attendees used to describe the Colored Child Welfare Conference, the only foster care conference in the state of Wisconsin to focus solely on the needs of black children and their families. There were over 300 multidisciplinary folks in attendance looking for answers to serve black children and families who are involved in the system.
So the objectives of this course or this presentation is to augment and develop best practice skills in client engagement, understanding, and most of you should have a copy of the PowerPoint, understanding cultural differences between the case worker and African American clients. Now, we talk specifically about black children or their families, but you know, it's adaptable. It could be white families, it could be Latino. Just understand that some of the principles, parents are parents. Appreciate differing worlds, views of the caseworkers and clients that may be shaped by family traditions. And it's moving slow. And I thought I was going to be able to have mine up here, and it's not working. So I have to look at this one. Or developing new methods of engagement that could be led to improve child safety, well-being, and permanency outcomes. A lot of these is language that you use in your day-to-day work. And before I continue, what I'd like to know, who in the room are caseworkers? Now, your role is caseworkers. How many of you are trainers? How many of you are social workers in another, or therapists? How many of you are parents? What else should I be asking? What did I miss? Who else is here?
How many are trying to get into the field?
Of social work or family engagement? Okay. How many of you are educators? Okay, so we have kind of a pretty broad base of participants here on this morning. So the guiding principles of this empowerment program is built on 4 guiding principles. Parents want what's best for their children. Those of you who are parents, do you want what's best for your children? I mean, that's pretty simplistic. Now, sometimes we think we can't always offer them what's best. And it's not based on what we have to offer, but it's based on what society has said is best. Those of you who work in child welfare, and I've worked in child welfare for a while, a lot of children, no matter how bad the circumstances are in their homes, at the end of the day, I don't care how bad their parent might be, at the end of the day, where do they want to be? Because they know, even if their parent is bad, because we say they're bad, they love them. Their love may not be what we consider to be most appropriate, but that's what they have. So, and that's typically what happens. Kids draw back to their biological parents. But parents, most parents, unless there's something severely wrong with them, and that can be, they really want what's best for their children. As lifelong learners, parents know best what they need to strengthen their parenting skills. I'm a lifelong learner. I can learn something every day. And I was sharing with somebody in the hall earlier, some of the things that I learned, I don't tell people I know. Like social media stuff. You know, they be talking about, you could do it. I say, yeah, I know how to do it. But I don't want everybody to know I know how to do it. Because when you know more, people expect you to do more. And when you're already doing a lot, I'd rather pass that. You know, there are young people that stay on their cell phone 24/7. And they can get a Facebook message and Twitter and Snapchat. And how many of y'all know about What's Up? Do y'all know What's Up? Anybody know What's Up? It's a new app. I just learned about it because my daughter is in Italy for 2 weeks, and she said, you can use What's Up. I'm like, what is that? So I downloaded it, so now I got something else I got to use. But sometimes, we should be learning things all the time, but the more you learn, the more you're expected to know. Parents learn best when they are involved in selecting the topics and activities. That's a no-brainer. Usually when we're working with families and they go through the court system and they order that the parents got to go through parenting. Do they tell them which parenting program to go through? You got to go through parenting. Do they look at what that parenting program is offering? It's whatever that organization is doing that you can get them into. And so what happens so often is the curriculum or the program that they're in may not meet their needs. How many of y'all got people that have gone through training multiple times, over and over and over, and nothing has changed? And you think, well, didn't you learn that? Maybe it wasn't what they needed. And so this curriculum really looks at how can we involve parents in their own training. And also with information, resources, and support, parents will make the best choices for their children. We talked earlier about parents knowing what's best for their children. I may want a Lexus or a Cadillac, but I can't get it because I don't have the money. That don't mean I don't want it. It does not mean I don't want it. I have a situation now where I have a granddaughter who's been in the Glen Hill School District for 8 years. She's getting ready to graduate to go to 9th grade. I don't know how many of you live in the North Shore area. There's only one high school in the North Shore area, Nicolay. They take these kids through 8 years, and then when you get to 8th grade, Nicolay is a separate school district or union of its own. So it's not an automatic where others. Do my kids want her to go there? Yeah. But it's not available to them. So it doesn't mean they don't want it. And you can't even pay if you don't live there. There's certain requisites. So when we look at having resources, sometimes the resources that may be available may not be accessible because it may not be affordable. There are some resources in the community that are free, but sometimes we refer people to things that they can't get. And so as we have developed this program, we're really looking at not only what parents might need, but also how we can help them access it. And so as we go through the different components of this family engagement, we hope that you get information that will be useful to you. Now, the other thing that I should have probably started with, this is the week of the Black child nationally. Y'all see all those books and stuffed animals over there? One of the pieces this week is we're encouraging literacy, and that's one of the pieces of this curriculum. So we want people to take a book or two with a stuffed animal for yourself, your children, kids you work with, or somebody else. We want you to take them because I don't want to have to take them back. We'll move them into the bigger room, but because you're in this workshop, we want you to have first access. So I'm telling you that now, so I know when we end, we're going to be between lunch and the evaluations and everything else. So keep that in mind. But this is the week of the Black child, and so this timing was really good for me to be able to present this information. This curriculum will not be launched nationally until this fall, but I've been given permission to go ahead and share it. And as I said, we've done a pilot here, and go ahead. And so the curriculum is powerful, flexible, and it's a unique family engagement curriculum. It uses meaningful, cultural, relevant activities to increase knowledge, change behavior, and build strong and lasting relationships. How many of you have ever heard of a game called Black Card Revolt? Anybody in the room heard of Black Card Revolt? Nobody heard it. It's a game. It's a game called Black Card Revolt. And the reason I bring that up is when we talk about culturally relevant activities to increase knowledge, change behavior, and build strong and lasting relationships, it is a game, and it has now, I think, 4 different parts to it. But when we talk about understanding culture, sometimes black people don't even understand their own culture. We don't know a lot of stuff that, because we've assimilated, whatever. We don't know. And we're in a different era. So this game that I'm talking about, Black Card Revolt, actually, it's a card game. Y'all can look it up. And I'm going to tell you, if you get it and play it, you will learn what you know and don't know about your own, because we played it. But it basically asks questions, things like what Mama and them said, and, you know, what would your grandmother likely have in her purse on a Sunday morning at church? What? Or a hanky, or, you know what I'm saying? Our kids don't know a lot of that, but a lot of our young parents don't know a lot of it either. And so when we're working with families and we're talking about culture, what's culturally based, some of them don't know because they may not have gotten it either. But as you're working with families, you know, whatever resources you can have to help you to better understand what they may be going through would be helpful. Help parents reflect on and strengthen their parenting practices while reinforcing their sense of pride and confidence in themselves, their community, their culture, and their history. Again, this game is just an additional resource that I would share with you. But when I think about parents, I'm a grandparent now, but I raised my 3 children. My oldest just turned 42 yesterday, and I'm still in my 40s. So y'all figure that one out. But at the end of the day, when I was raising my kids, now that I look back, I was probably a phone call away from somebody reporting me to the Bureau of Milwaukee Child Welfare. I kid you not. I'm being honest. Because some of the things that people get brought to the attention of the Bureau, once you, and I tell people, I don't care if they call. Yes, you do care. Because you don't want to be investigated. Do anybody in here want to be investigated? Y'all want people coming in your house, going through everything? No. So we need to really be mindful. But as I think about my parenting skills were reflective of what my parents did or not. What my grandparents did or not. And, you know, we hear people all the time say, well, you know, I got whooped and I'm okay. Well, I promise you, some of them whoopings back wasn't whoopings. They was beatings. And that's a difference. And I got smart when I was coming up. My mother probably now, if I knew that I had one coming, I came up in the era where you could get under the bed. Remember them beds that had the springs and all that? I would get under the bed, and when she would come, I could see her walk. So when she got to one side of the bed, I'd roll to the other. She got to the other. Not so much, because the beds ain't up high. But as we think about what our parents did, we draw from, where else you going to draw from? There is no book. You got Dr. Spock. You got all these other, But there is no panacea. There's nothing that's going to say, if you get this book and read it each day, it's going to tell you everything you need to know about being a parent. Part of being a parent is learning who you are, where your triggers are, and that's in relationships. Being a parent is really in a relationship with your child, knowing that every child is different, every one of them in the same family with the same parents are different. If you got more than one child, look at them, tell me they all the same. We ain't all the same. So we have to think about how we implement these parenting programs and really look to the parents for their guidance. And I know our original curriculum that we had, PSG used it for working with biological parents. However, they didn't use the whole curriculum. They just pulled parts out. You can't just pull a piece out and say, okay, we're going to do this piece, and that's going to make it. It don't work. It has to be, give me the full role. Don't give me just one. It's like I'm going to learn how to drive, but all I need to know is how to drive forward and give me my license. No, you got to learn how to back up. You got to learn how to turn, all of that. So give me all of it, because if you don't provide all of it, then there's going to be still a deficit. And I believe that's where some of our struggles are. We give, and then, people don't show up for everything. But the one thing, and before I move forward, the one thing that I can tell you, and Miss Patricia, if you would stand and maybe just share, we implemented the pilot at COA Golden Center. We work with the Parenting Network, and we work with Aurora Family Services. And they knocking at my door now. They want this curriculum. Not just because the facilitators liked it, but the parents liked it. So I don't know if you want to share any highlights.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting me. As she said, I'm Patricia Glover Howard, and I think it was last year that we implemented the curriculum on a pilot basis. We had six trainers that we did a train-the-trainer workshop, and then we also, then we had two organizations that were a part of this. It was the Parenting Network and Aurora Family Services. So we had about 38 parents that attended those workshops. We had workshops during the day at the Parenting Network Center. I think it was once a week for about an hour and a half. And then we had some other workshops at Aurora Family Services on Wednesday nights. And each program lasted for about 6 weeks. The topics, and I know Wanda's going to go into this, but reflections is the very first thing. There's about 6 different topics that you cover. And you can tailor this whole program to your own centers or to your own programs. It talked about reflections, and that's when the parents really did some digging. They learned about their culture. They learned about African American culture. They learned about their family culture. They talked about some things that mama did and grandmama did. But the biggest thing about this curriculum, we talked about what things they wanted to stop doing so that they didn't continue doing those things on a generational basis. So like I said, there were about 38 parents who attended the programs. They loved it. They really liked it. There were activities that accompanied each of the topics. Like I said, there was reflections, health and wellness, child growth and development, positive guidance. How do you talk to your kids? Giving them the language to use. A lot of them don't know what to use, don't know what to say. They haven't had good role models. And then it also talked about literacy, how to bridge that gap between the schools and the parents. Huge void there. And then it was also a thing talked about, the last topic was a transition to early care and education programs, because a lot of them don't know how to seek out good daycare centers and how to evaluate those. But again, like I said, the parents loved it. But one of the things that they talked about at the end, Wanda, they went through this whole program. We had a culmination event. We gave away books. We gave away iPads. I had some notebooks. I had a couple of those left. from a program, and so we gave those away. One of the things they said at the end of this program, their children were invited, we all celebrated, etc. They said, now that we worked on the kids, I need to work on me. So I'm hoping that this program really, because you talked about that, part of being a parent is knowing who you are. A lot of them really don't know who they are. So I'm hoping that this 2.0, 2.5, whatever version we're calling it, addresses that.
All right. And so Pat is here today, so if anybody afterwards wants to ask her more questions. But as we look at the structure for implementation, this is a 6 to 8 week program. And it's typically 2 hours. So, and you start with, even though you have a topic like the reflections, you really engage the parents. And if you got a good group, if it's 5 or if it's 10, parents, they're going to draw from each other. And so it's really the role of whoever's implementing the training to be more of a facilitator and really listen and hear what they have to say. So often, we're the experts. We got the curriculum, we got the program, we know what you need, we're going to tell you, and then at the end of the day, we're going to determine whether or not you were successful. But we want people to walk away knowing they're successful because they had a part in learning, their own learning. As we talked about lifelong learning, help you to learn who you are. And like I said, where your strengths are, where your weaknesses are, and how to draw from others. The reason I think that I'm successful in what I do, I network. I'm probably one of the best networkers around town. I meet people, I get their cards, find out what they do, and if I don't need them, but somebody walks up to me, and I get calls all the time at Children's, or people see me out, Wanda, do you know anybody that does such and such? You know what? Yes, I do. Let me get on my phone. If I don't have it with me, give me your email. I will get it to you. And usually what I'll do is do a electronic introduction and have my name on it so the person know I'm sending this person to you because they need your help. So part of this is helping people connect with other resources. Because in my role, I've seen too many programs in the city that have grant dollars to implement, and they don't have the participants. I'm like, what's the point? You got all this money to do this program, nobody's coming because they don't know anything about it. And then guess what? They go through, they put their report together and get funded again. I'm like, really? But it happens. The sessions are usually 2 hours, and it can be done based on what's working for you. You know, there are parents that are home during the day. Sometimes if it could be attached to a school where they bring their kids to school, and then you just keep them for a couple of hours to go through the session, and that's kind of what we did at COA. Parents brought their, they have a resource center. So parents would come with their kids, they could go into child care or stay in that area and then participate in the training. There's 6 topic areas. Parents will identify the introductory topic for each session. Can you imagine how powerful that could be? If you come into the first session and you're telling parents, tell me what you want to know. What do you think will help you, will strengthen what you already know? I'm not going to tell you. What do you need to know? Maybe it's, I need to know how to cook. I need my GED. I need to know how to control my temper. Can you get them in a free yoga class? How many of y'all do yoga? I got one person. We got a few. You know, how do you calm yourself? How do you learn how to walk away? Because in essence, that's a lot of what's going on now. People don't know how to walk away. And it becomes an interesting dynamic. Parents will share their needs and level of knowledge on each topic. Now, when I say facilitate, everybody's not going to know all they need to know. But just listening and talking to people sometimes will help you to be able to bring that out. And don't tell them, say, did you mean, I can play real dumb sometimes. Not dumb, but just play like you don't know to kind of edge them along to get to where they need to be. Engage in activities with each session. If they need yoga, or somebody said, I need to learn how to lose weight. That's one of the things, because I don't feel good about myself. Or I need to learn how to do something so I feel good about myself. Can you bring somebody in, like Johanna here, who is creative images, help you look good. I'm not saying that's me, but how to put your makeup on, how to dress, how to present yourself, because quiet as it's kept, sometimes people look good. And everybody think they got it all together. They wonderful parents. We done seen too many stories of people that live on the hill, not in the hood, and the kids locked up in cages for years. Have you heard that? The other piece of parenting, and I started to say this earlier, I don't know how many people take parenting classes before they become parents. And I don't know how many people that are not required to take parenting classes take them. So we got people that are being forced to do something that the rest of the world don't have to do. And I understand why. But keep that in mind when we're working with folks. We're requiring people to do stuff that everybody else ain't. And quiet as it's kept, they may know some of these people, and they're watching what they're doing and getting away with it because they have not been brought to the attention of the Bureau or any other entity. So engaging activities could be a number of things. But always conclude with a wrap-up activity. And never let them leave a session without some resources. Now, I'm not talking about a mountain of papers. But you may bring the resource to the meeting to say, here's a person that does this program, and it's free, and it's here, and whatever, so that they know and can begin to see, because a lot of this is going to have to come through relationships. Who can I call? Who do I know that actually is able to do the work that I need? So we're going to go to the first session, and keep me, because I can talk, but I want to make sure we have time for you to ask questions. Oh, I should have said that earlier. Who got that phone going? Music. Somebody. Reflections. What hat am I wearing? Am I wearing the hat of a parent, the mother, the father, the disciplinarian, the cook, the driver, the educator, the nail tech, the beautician, the laundry? What hat am I wearing? As parents, we wear a whole lot of hats. And depending on what hat you're wearing at that particular time might determine how you respond to your child's needs. We not all calm and, whatever. We ain't all like that. We just ain't. So we need to know, what hat are you wearing? And sometimes the hat you're wearing today, you might need to change it up. That may not be what you need to be having on today. And we know when we having a bad day. This is just kind of just saying, your kids don't know it though. If you having a bad day, unless you just yelling, but, or doing something crazy. The other thing in terms of reflection, so you want to be a parent, like I said earlier. Most people don't talk about wanting to be a parent. A lot of times it's, it just happened. Y'all know it just happened. You didn't know what you was doing. It just happened. And 9 months later, or 7 or 8, it just happened. But what are the ties that bind your family? The things that happen that are long lasting. What I said earlier, even the worst parents, those ties bind. If kids know who their parents are, even if they the worst, they coming back. And they love them. Mother's Day, they go dig wherever their mama is. They're going to do something for her. But that's just that bond between a mother and sometimes fathers and their kids. Be a positive role model. Because we want to model appropriate behavior so that our children grow up and do better than we did as parents. I have 3 children, all grown. My oldest has a 14-year-old son. And I look at my grandchildren and look at the differences. I mean, they're good. But I have one that I call Einstein, and he really is. And I kid you not, he is. And my daughter's a professor. So, her and her husband, they read all the time. This kid, his closet is not clothes. It's shelves full of books. So when I say Einstein, I'm embarrassed to have a conversation with him. Because he going to ask me something that I don't know. But our son and his wife are here. Their kids are do very well. But it's just the difference in the way they parent. And there's nothing wrong with either one. It's just and they marry different people. So you bring all of that to the table. Somebody's family upbringing might be different than theirs was, but then you bring that together. So think about it. And some of the challenges that we have now is we have families that have multiple dads in the family. So if you're bringing those dynamics into that parenting situation where maybe the mom is raising the child alone, all of that plays into. And so when we think about the information earlier where the reflections, sometimes some of the challenges the parents have is the fact that they're dealing with multiple dads. How can I deal with all of these different folks and really, because some men might have some strong beliefs. I want my child to do this, 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 and this. But that may not be what and then how do you do that with one child and not the other? And you're the mom for all of them. So they're dealing with challenges. And so that may be something that needs to be worked out. How do I blend all of this together, those blended families? So being a positive role model is sometimes it's just being there. But certainly learning all you can. Another part of the curriculum is health and wellness. Sometimes the challenges we have, family culture and health, we learn now. I got more people in my family that are vegans and vegetarians, and I'm like, where y'all get this from? Serious. Every day somebody, and I'm not knocking anybody, please. But my oldest daughter is a vegan. And so when she comes to my house, she shops before she comes. And I had the nerve, I guess you would say, Christmas, she lives in upstate New York. So I decided all the family was going to get together for Christmas. So I did one of those over the river and through the woods to my daughter's house we go. And I cooked all the food before I got there and took it. So I had turkey and dressing and ham, and she a vegan. So when I got to her house, she's like, you gonna cook ham in my house? You grew up on this. I'm gonna wash, ain't nothing gonna be here, but it's, So, but things have changed. Now, I don't eat that every day, but every so often, I may want to have that. So we need to respect family, culture, and health. Another thing that Black Child Development has is we have cookbooks on new ways to cook old recipes. So instead of certain things you put in your greens, we do it differently to make it healthier for you. The curriculum also, what my grandmama told me. And a lot of grandmothers are still living. And they gonna tell you, and if you do stuff that you in trouble. You are in trouble. Tiffany laughing. But get in these sessions with people. Sometimes people do stuff because they're torn between what you telling them to do and what they got to go back home. Because grandmama told, like, it's okay to sleep with your baby. Well, no, it ain't. Not safe sleep. There's certain things you need to do. So we need to be mindful of that when we're talking to people, because we need to understand where they're coming from. And Big Mama and Grandmama, that's where we learn, because some of that stuff they told us, it works. I promise you it works. You go to the doctor and they give you all this stuff, and then you go to, how many of y'all been to Dr. Carter? Look at the hands. Did Dr. Carter give you something to work it out? So you need to understand, medicine is there for our use, and you use it. But understand, some of them old remedies, they didn't have medicines. I mean, some of the stuff we have now, and they work. So don't discount what Grandmama said. See how you can incorporate it into what you're doing. Healthy solutions, going back to what's really healthy. Some of the health challenges are going to sleep. We need to get our rest. You can't get up every day and start all over if you haven't. How many of you all still have a perfect toy? Anybody in here got a toy that you had growing up? A doll that you know, my grandson now, somebody made him a blanket when he was a baby, and he's 9. It's this big now. The quilt or knitted blanket. I kid you not, it's that big. But whenever he spends the night at my house, he's got it. So, does he need it? Probably not, but he's had it. And so I don't know what's going to happen when it just completely goes away, but it's about that big. And they wash it, and he still uses it. Positive guidance. Put yourself in my place. As a parent, you know, like I said earlier, we go back to what we're accustomed to. Some of our upbringings wasn't all that great. Do you want to be there? Or do you want, you know, your kids to be in that same situation? So really providing positive guidance for where you want them to be. I am lovable and capable. Everybody got some kind of love in them. You just got to find it sometimes. I can be a pretty tough person. And so because of that, people think she's strong. She can take anything. You know, people do that. But, you know, I get worn down, too. Sometimes I just have to go in the room and just cry. Because you just get to a point that you think, wow, they did that? So I think about it as an adult. What about, and as a parent, you're going to have those times where you just going to break down and cry. But you still need to get back up to, there is another day. There is another opportunity. And what I fear right now in our community, so many parents have given up on their kids because they just don't see no way. They don't see the support. They don't see any way to help their children, and they just give up. It has to be. When you got 12 and 13-year-olds out at all times, a day and night, and nobody knows where they are and what they're doing, And when you go to the parents, they don't know. And a lot of them have just given up. They're like, I can't do it anymore. Some of them because they're on their own, but they need a strong support system. Positive guidance, not your parents' discipline. Now that's kind of, I don't know what your parents' discipline was. I know what mine was. We never got spanked with extension cords or people used to take branches off trees and skin it back so it was green. I know about them stories. I never had that. But I know it happens. And so sometimes we go back to what we know to be what brought us through, so to speak. We need to look at firm foundation for good behavior. And firm foundation, number one, you have to be strong in yourself. And understand, we're going to make mistakes. Parents are going to make mistakes. Some, however, because of their exposure or their involvement with the Bureau, they can't go back and change it. You make a mistake, you're on that path. And so you don't want to threaten people, but how do we work with them to really help strengthen that positive change so that they're on the right trajectory to get to where they need to go and not be on the path of losing their children? But really, and being able to help each other. I know that the parent cafes are still going on, right? Are they? Parent cafes? They're not? Oh. Well, I know when that was set up, it was to have all parents. So you didn't necessarily know who was in the system and who wasn't, and to really help to draw from each other in terms of helping to build your parenting skills. But as I said earlier, everybody doesn't necessarily have the best parenting skills, but they're not attached to the Bureau of Child Welfare either. Because they're not. I won't give any more. You can go to the next one. I won't give any more. Literacy and numeracy. Tales to enhance. One of the books that we have over there is Aesop's Fables. It's 24 stories, just a little, and the owl over there. They're little stories that you can read. We have Velveteen Rabbit is over there. The Wizard of Oz is over there. So, and by the way, you may have seen these products in Kohl's department store where they sell them in the front of the store, $5 for the book and $5 for the stuffed animal. I get them at no cost. Relationships. Literacy rich home. Words around us. How do we talk? And not let the TV talk, the radio talk, the boombox talk, but how do we talk to each other? And some of it starts with the adults. How many of y'all sit in your house with your husband or your significant other or your wife? They at the kitchen table, you at the kitchen table, and y'all both on your phones. Or they in the family room, you in the, we were doing it, my husband and I. But we stopped. We sit down at the kitchen table and eat breakfast together. We eat dinner together. Put the phones down. And it was so funny because we were out here last night to bring stuff out. And drove all the way home. And we got home, he didn't have his cell phone. Well, he wasn't driving back out here. So it's like withdrawal. Didn't have it. So you live to do without. This is a phenomenon that just happened in the last 10 years. We so attached to these phones, we can't talk to people. You go to restaurants, they sitting across from each other with the phones. So we really need to know how to exercise how to talk to each other. So when we talk about literacy-rich home, we need to be talking. Not yelling, not cussing, talking. And maybe if more talking was going on in homes, kids could talk in school and in the community and wouldn't be on Facebook talking about people. and end up in fights. Because the other piece of it is, depending on what your level of understanding is, when you read stuff, you may have a different interpretation. And so, because we could have 10 people read the same thing and they walk away with a different interpretation. And sometimes the way we write does not really dictate what we really mean. And so speaking to people is going to be a lot better than just doing it. Word up. Word cup, rather. Word cup. Word up is the same thing. But word cup. Keeping the cup with words in it. And then what the meanings are. Asking the right questions. When we're doing this implementation, asking the right question. And sometimes it's not us asking it, it's having the people ask, the parents asking you. Because we don't know it all. Transitions. Where are we at with time? Ooh, gee. Transitions. Who can I turn to? Transitions meaning going from early care and education to school, or maybe from home to early care and education. There are a lot of resources in the community. Enrolling your child in early care and education program, knowing that we now in our state have a rating system for child care, just like hotels, 1 to 5. If you got to pay anyway, or you got support to cover your child care, go for the 5. Go for the 5. Go for it and stay there. Part of the issue with some of the challenges we have with our kids is they go to different programs. You know, one year you're here, or even 1 month you're here, next month you're somewhere else, so you're not getting consistency. And it's the same with school. We need to be consistent. Your vote counts. As Jane Elliott this morning was talking about some of the political stuff. Now, we got some different opinions, and I'm not going to get into it. But at the end of the day, if you don't vote, you don't count. If you don't vote, you don't count. And not only parents need to vote, but once you elect people, even if you don't, but they won, you need to follow up with them and let them know what your needs are. I sent an email this morning before I left home to Theo Lifson, who's the county board chair for Milwaukee County, and told him I want them to fund the Office of African American Affairs. It's been on the budget, $300,000, and for whatever reason, they can't seem to get it together. He's my county supervisor. Yeah, I know. He's my county supervisor, and they need to vote on it to move it forward. So, and when I see him in places, but and I have people that accuse me, well, you know them. No, I don't. I just know them because I go talk to them. They're representing you. So your vote needs to count. What was the last one? The homeschool bridge. So sometimes we homeschool, making sure you still have that bridge to connection. You can go to the next one. Let's see. I'm not going to go through this. The curriculum is culturally responsive, it's relevant, trauma sensitive, and we all know trauma-informed care. It's important. Align with current research and best practices. Developmentally appropriate, 2-generational. We can't deal with 1 generation because in a lot of these situations, you're 2 generations and maybe 3. It's designed with feedback. And it's action-oriented. It connects families. So action, they got to do something. You can't just come and leave. We want you to do something with it. And when you come back, then we're going to find out, what did you do? How did you implement? Questions? Yes.
Ms. Montgomery, it's an honor to meet you because I work and volunteer for Mr. Reed. So I kind of know your husband on business basis. But just to piggyback off of what you're saying, knowing your child, my daughter, she's 25 now. When she was in school, I had a hard time keeping her in school. And they were telling me, and they, as far as doctors and practitioners, was telling me, well, I think she needs to be on something. And I'm like, no, I don't feel she needs. So my mother told me, she was like, what she needs is a good bleep, bleep, bleep. You know, and so I took my daughter home for the weekend, and sit down, talk to her, whooped her.
Oh no.
Well, not whoop her, but back.
I know what you mean.
Kind of spank her a little bit. And I told her, I said, you gonna go to school, you gonna act right. Do you know that my daughter now she is a Supreme Court judge in Tennessee? She went to school. Like that next week. I kid you not. Gospel truth. The teacher told me she did a whole 360 turn. Now, what if I would have put my child on something?
Well, it goes back. Yeah, it goes back to what I said earlier. We need to know our children. Now, some kids may need a little help, but not all of them. And so you need to understand your own child and what some of the behaviors are. I had a similar situation with my youngest. And I did everything they told me to. I took her to the psychologist. They went through all the exams and all that. And you know what we found out that was happening with her? We lived in Sherman Park, but they went to school in Whitefish Bay. And so she rode the bus to school. When she got to school, they wouldn't let them off the bus until like 5 minutes before school started. So she had to be on the bus. Then she went in school. And then after school, she'd have to get on the bus right away to come home. So you know what she was missing out on? Socialization with her friends. And so during school, she wouldn't sit down. She was walking around talking to everybody, so they said she had ADHD. And I'm like, huh? I'm taking this girl to church. And our church, we could be in church for 3 hours. And she's sitting there with no problem. So, I kid you not. You know what I did? Put her in Girl Scouts and something else. No more problem. Never gave her a bit of Ritalin. She went straight through school, through college, and now she's working full-time in Boston. So, but again, you need to know your child. And we need to help parents know their own children. Because people will tell you who your child is, and you'll be sitting there like, okay. You'll be sitting there like, really? Oh, then I better go do this. Know your own child. Other questions?
What providers provide this curriculum?
This curriculum is right now with the National Black Child Development Institute. We will have trainers locally that will be able to work with organizations. I actually have a meeting soon with the Child and Family Institute that just got launched 2 weeks ago. So I'll be meeting with them. My philosophy is we need options. Everything is not cookie cutter for everybody. So we need to look at what comes in. And then this is evidence-based. So I would just encourage you, if you want more information, Johanna's handing out, but we have a booth in the large room. I have sign-in sheets. If you want to sign up, that you want to get more information, give me your email. When it gets ready to be rolled out, I'll make sure that we connect with you. But we have partners in the community with Aurora Family Services, with the Parenting Network, and Black Child Development. And then we're also going to be working with 4Cs, which is a child care resource and referral agency. They want this training too. So I think, I won't say it's the next best thing to sliced bread. I just think it's an opportunity to really help strengthen parents. The other thing that you will find in there on our table, we have a report, State of the Black Child, Being Black is Not a Risk Factor. That report is in there. We highlight health, early care and education, and strong families. What does it take? I know we got deficits, but I also know we have strengths. And so this report is based on the strengths. If you don't get the report there, you can go on our website and get it. Other questions, because they keep telling me, Fab, we want y'all to get in there to eat. But make sure you get a book or two with stuffed animals, and we have more animals on the side. And then we want y'all to have them. And I appreciate you coming to this workshop. I hope it was beneficial.